All right. We are going to call this regular meeting to order Wednesday, March 18th, 2026. It is now 6:00 p.m. Roll call, Tony Bolduc here, Lisa Di Maria. Here. Alan Parody. Here. Stan Reinheimer. Here. Daniel Smith. Jonathan Kastner. Sarah McAwicki. Here. Right. You're up to a full member, right? Mm-hmm. Okay, I don't know why that's still. Okay. Let's see. Audience of citizens. Citizens may address the commission on items that are not listed on the agenda. Few people in the audience. Anybody have anything that's not on the agenda? All right. On to approval minutes. You have the February 18th, 2026 meeting minutes. Everybody's read them. Any corrections? What's not? Get a motion.
Motion to approve is submitted.
I'll second. Awesome. All in favor?
Aye.
They opposed? Or abstaining? All right. On the next one, February 18th, 2026. List of motions. I think I said 2025 on the last one. I meant 2026. Same goes for this. Everybody's read it. I just need a motion to approve.
Make a motion to approve.
Second.
I'll second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Abstaining or opposed? All right. On to old business. Item A, site plan application, retail flower shop, 171 Main Street, Unit A, map 57, lot 118, applicant Jessica Langston. Give us a quick. I know last time you were here, we asked for a site plan, which you have dropped off to us. Want to point out some parking, et cetera, and
Correct.
take it away.
What do you want from me? I'm like actually nervous now. Last time I was a little more laid back. Now I'm stressed. So
If,
Tony does that.
yeah, it's usually the way.
so do you.
That, I like when it's out. Well, if you could just go through what you've added, show us where the parking is. I think that was the biggest question last time. Where the parking are is if you, kind of point out on the map.
Yeah.
Which I think you've done eloquently, but just.
My husband's a geotech engineer, so he definitely helped me with this. So over here, as you can see, we added the parking lines for the parking spots and then to indicate where my trash and recycling will be.
All right, any more questions for the applicant?
Just one clarification and on trash, because that is not on the property, right? You have a right of way to use that property for the trash.
Correct.
Right. And as long as it's permitted with your.
Correct.
The reason I raised that question is somebody changed the use and all of a sudden they put in a daycare there and they no longer want anybody to use. Put your trash on their property. So
Yeah. No problem.
That's just for the record. Awesome. Obviously, there is room on your site or your landlord's site to put that in.
Correct.
Very good. Thank you.
You're welcome.
More questions for the applicant? All right. You can find parking?
No,
No, he's good.
flat tire.
I got that.
Second, the car's only a year and a half old, second tire. So
So,
apologize.
all right. If any more questions, we're looking for a motion.
I'll make a motion to approve.
I'll second that. All in favor?
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Abstaining? Motion passed.
Thank you so much.
I gotta make a quick turn back. I didn't realize Fred Jordan was on, wanted to make something under audience citizens, so give me a second. I gotta let him in.
Thank you, Tony. Can you hear me?
Yep, I got you.
Okay, I had a question and it's not related to anything on the agenda. It has to do with signage and the like at the farm store down the street from me. They have multiple lights. It's essentially a bunch of stars that illuminate their farm store / coffee shop 24 hours a day. How does that fit into commercial lighting when, what are the regulations regarding farm stands and nighttime lighting and that sort of thing when they're not even open? I'm a believer in the night skies and certainly having unnecessary lighting, in my view, is number one, wasteful, but also, detracts from the area. So I have a question. That was basically my question because it's really kind of a complaint, and it's been going on for some time.
Oh, I definitely, so the CEO is here. We will have her look into it because I agree with you. I'm not a fan of leaving the lights on forever. We have another place in town that has a light problem.
Yeah.
They're literally on 24 hours a day.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Alrighty, back to old business, special permit application, agritourism activities, 362 West Elm Street, map 42, lot 4, applicant James Neve, sorry. So last meeting, we closed the public hearing and decided to give this a little more thought. And so here we are, open this up to discussion.
You have my draft that you can put up, or do you want to just want me to give paper copies, because I have paper.
I can draw, I didn't put the draft.
That's okay. When you hand it to the real quick. Okay, just to start out to open up discussion, I went through the regulations, statement of use, and the concerns of the public from the public hearing. And I drafted a motion just as a place to start. Just a couple of comments before we get to that. We've been losing farms and farmland for decades. We have an applicant here that wants to run a farm. There's many different types of farming. During the public hearing, there was a comment that was made by someone in the public that farming doesn't happen overnight. I agree with that. It doesn't happen overnight. I think that would make a great bumper sticker. Every business owner has to start somewhere. These applicants in front of us have a permit for their farming. They're here for special permit application for agritourism and the activities part of it. And there was a comment made during the discussion about possibly approving the activities, but making them come back for the special events part of it. If you read our regulations, the special events is part of the agritourism. And having them have to come back every time they want a special event isn't going to help them run their business. And since it's in the regs, and that's why they are here in front of us with that application, I don't know why we would make them come back. I think that if they were going to be bad actors and we were concerned about that, I think they'd already be violating the regulations because they've been there a while now. And this is something they've wanted to do. I just think it would be either hard on their business or not allow them to run their business to make them do that. And I took that all into consideration when drafting the motion so that we could add to it. The conditions come from our regulations. What they've asked for is in our regulations. They haven't asked for anything really beyond that. And you guys have a copy of the draft so we can discuss.
And that,
I'm actually very much in alignment with you for all the same reasons. The especially the intent to preserve kind of the rural agricultural character and land that is conducive to that. And especially a comment too that it doesn't happen overnight, and we can't require that they have a seasoned farm before they can find other avenues to help subsidize that activity. You can't put the cart before the horse or the horse before the cart. It just has to be a symbiotic relationship, recognizing that agriculture is not necessarily sustainable in most communities. So what farming looks like is going to change. The other comment I would have regard to, it doesn't happen overnight. Farming doesn't necessarily happen at night. And yeah, though we put some restrictions on the hours of use, I would tend to say that we want to be more restrictive and restrict agritourism activities to align with agri activities, which is during daylight hours.
Mhm.
So during the summer, you can have an event that goes to sunset, which in June approaches 9 o'clock at night. When you think of agricultural uses, sound, light, etc., has an effect on farming activities, keeping animals. So I think as an entry level, this is going to be kind of a permitted agritourism if it aligns with normal operation of an agricultural operation, which would be daylight hours. If they want to have additional functions, then you can pursue an additional permit for special functions. So I would say that we'd be a little bit more restrictive as we begin to test the waters on this and say that the agritourism aligns with agri functions, which is a daylight activity.
Is that in the regulations now?
No,
So were we at this on just the basis of this permit? Or do we need to,
Is what in the regulations now?
the ag?
hours of operation.
Yes, hours of operation, hours of operation are in there now, but
Yes,
are there, is some restriction to agribusiness? Is it
No,
specific to that?
we allow special events. We allow.
Right.
We allow activities, which is which I put on the draft here, such as but not limited to animal and farm education, workshops, ecology walks, and art sessions shall be held during normal business hours, April through December. All non-agricultural activities, which is the weddings, the sunset walks, shall be limited to, and the list goes with our regulations, what our regulations allow.
So my-
Our regulations allow 10 PM. This draft is 9 PM on Friday, Saturdays, and
So
Sundays.
that is specifically what my question is. I'm not disagreeing with that. I'm just asking.
It is in our regulations. I
For,
took
for,
this
for,
from
for the business, right.
And what type of application is this?
Special exception, which means you could
Which
set.
then we can put restrictions
Yeah,
on
but
the
his
activity.
question was,
Yeah.
is it in the regs? Yes, it's in the regs.
Yeah.
Right.
Yes, we can condition
But-
it, but it is in the.
But if we
regs.
want to condition it for 9, that we do that to the
Absolutely.
special exception.
Yeah, and she's gonna look and see, because I think they asked for specific hours, so I guess, no way to look, check in. I can't remember specifically.
Right.
Oh, you're gonna make me read it off the little screen.
Please, I just want to make sure we get this.
Standard hours.
I can read it out loud.
No, you're good. Standard hours are 7 a.m. to 4 p.m. and 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. weekends. Extended hours, I get there. Jesus, such private parties, blah, blah, blah. Extended till dusk or early evening. So that's pretty much what Alan just said, to
Right.
dusk.
Okay.
And the biggest concern,
Let me
one of the
make
major
sure.
concerns that was raised was, how do we define, farming, agriculture, et cetera? And it's one of those things where, if it, it's gotta walk like a duck and look like a duck. And I think that if we're gonna mirror the activities, agritourism with agricultural activities, it should kind of mirror those hours. We can look at expanding that, but the thing is, we don't want this.
I don't think we need to.
Let me talk.
Oh, I'm sorry.
In your
I'm sorry.
first discussion, start the debate first. There's, the hours of operation, I think, are key to the concerns of the abutters.
Mhm.
It's also, I think, in line with if you have another agricultural abutter, which is zone 4, that the illumination would affect that as would amplified sound. So I think I'm on the same page with you as far as only non-amplified music would be permitted. If you will have an event, you can come down for a special permit and say, we want to have a band and amplification, et cetera, but that'd be a different process.
I agree.
So towards the daylight, and there's precedent for it in other zoning regulations. relative to agritourism is that, that there's no site illumination beyond what would be required for normal, safety on the farm and normal agricultural operations. So yes, you're gonna have illumination around your barns, et cetera, but no event lighting like, suspended illumination, decorative lighting, things like that. Again, that could probably be set up for an event on an event basis, but not on a regular basis. So I would go towards trying to make sure the function looks like it's agritourism, looks like agritourism and not normal commercial activity. And, see how that goes. And then later on, we can look at kind of expanding that if it's comfort level.
Yeah, they, like I said, I doodled on here dusk just because that's what they asked for, so they go to 9.
Mhm.
All right. Dan, you want to add to that, or?
As long as Alan's done talking. Yeah, no, thanks, Alan. I just wanted clarification because I want to be sure that that's something acceptable on this because
Yeah.
the regulations tend to lean towards commercial. So this, where does this fall in agriculture? But we had a lot of members of the community come to help put together the POCD. That was a community initiative, and it was approved by the community. And this is in alignment with community initiative for the POCD.
Yeah.
And so I'm all for that. As long as it's in the regs.
Any more discussion on this? If not, looking for a motion.
Let's. We take her draft motion as a motion.
You can if you want. It's
Do
up
we
to you.
want-
Steal her thunder.
Want to add the.
Well, he's gonna get a first and second and then
Okay.
tweak it.
Can we add, like they revisit back in a year or so?
It's on there.
Yeah.
It's on here.
I know, but I mean, like, what are we gonna have? Like, what are they gonna have to show us? I don't wanna say like,
So they'll come back with their same application and then we'll see how they've, I hate to say behave, but how it's all played out, right? Did they have, each
That's how
party
we
some
leave it.
fireworks and then you can say, all right, you don't get your special permit this time. around.
sounds good to me.
So, but yeah, first, second, then we can add or take away from this if you guys are okay with that.
We want to make amendments to this after we,
First and second, then we'll make amendments. Yeah.
I will move to, I'll move to accept the draft motion as written.
Second.
I'll second.
Okay. Any tweaks or discussion about said draft motion?
So we'll change 9 PM on Friday, Saturday and Sunday to dusk or, okay. And do we want to add in that if they need lighting, that it be for safety and be full cutoff?
yeah, and I can make a recommendation. Let's do the hours first. I think we need to allow, an hour of function after sunset for cleanup and closing down. So that the termination of kind of the public activity would be aligned with.
But with dusk, and this goes to December. What's dusk in December?
Actually,
There's a legal definition. I mean,
Right.
it's
Oh,
a
but
legal
we're-
definition, a legal hour for every day of the year.
didn't they say they were functioning all year?
There probably won't be weddings in
You never know what people are gonna do, right?
Oh, no,
Well,
we're
we've-
expecting.
we've seen that with other-
April, December.
Right, so okay, so they are going to December. Okay, so it's April.
April through
You have to
December.
there. I'm
Yeah.
sorry.
And I think what we should do is when we write any constraints on here, it should mirror constraints that we would want to have as draft language in here. So it's not exception, it's kind of a draft language of what we would anticipate to
So
accept.
this will be like a pilot for agribusiness, and then later we could amend our overall
Correct.
regulations.
Potentially,
Focus.
potentially with other similar types of activities which are
Well,
exceptions.
that aligns with our POCD, and I'd like to see that in our overall
Yeah.
regulations, so.
Yeah.
I think
Because
it's good.
you are gonna have, whenever you have a public event, there's a little bit of, it ends and then people are leaving. They're
Oh, absolutely.
leaving the parking
Yeah.
lot, people are cleaning up, et cetera. So you just need to accommodate. On the exterior lighting,
Mhm.
The way I would write it up is that exterior lighting associated with agritourism uses is prohibited. Which means that the function is going to align with daylight hours, the activity is. Lighting may be provided where necessary for normal agricultural operations, required life safety illumination, and temporary safety lighting. So in other words, if you're going to have an event, you've got to anticipate that you might have to have path lights or parking illumination, et cetera. But that is temporary. And that any permitted lighting shall be fully shielded and downward directed. In other words, night sky illumination. And I would leave it at that. I think that would.
I hope Nancy got all that because I was trying to let somebody in at the same time. So what I wanted to do was read through this with all the changes. So I'm probably going to get to the lighting part and then have you or Ellen reread that. That way we have the full motion.
Does this sound acceptable to
Okay,
you
I'll
as an
consider
amendment
so
to
I
your
can-
motion?
So you read.
Absolutely, this was a starting point.
Yep.
Mhm. As you can tell, I'm passionate about farming, so I get a little bit.
No, you did the heavy lifting.
I know, right?
Put a lot of thought.
There's someone going outside,
Yes.
it's kids.
If we're okay with the motion so far, I just like to, I mean, unless you guys want to add anything else, I'm going to read what we have, fill in that little blank piece and run with it.
Mhm.
Okay. So we move to approve the activities and ag tourism special permit application for 362 West Elm Street, map 42, lot 4, with the following findings and conditions under section 7B31 of the zoning regulation. All activities such as but not limited to animal and farm education, workshops, ecology, walks and art sessions shall be held during normal business hours, April through December. All non-agricultural activities such as but not limited to special events, including weddings and sunset walks, should be limited to 8 events per calendar year, 35 guests per event, ending by 6 p.m. Monday through Thursday and dusk on Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, April through December, allowing 1 hour for cleanup following the end of each event. No amplified sound. Any and all lighting shall be full cutoff. I will come back to that because I don't know the rest of the dark sky compliant lighting. What are the other two?
Basically, it's a matter of back to the light portion of somebody. So any exterior lighting associated with agritourism uses is prohibited. In other words, we're looking at agriculture. Says lighting may be provided only where necessary for normal agricultural operations. And I think we just leave it at that because instead of trying to say it's limited to livestock or blah, 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 does because we'll miss something. Required life safety illumination. And then temporary safety lighting. As you say, I could say some temporary safety lighting associated with agritourism events.
And then the applicant will ensure that the bridge is structurally capable of handling vehicle traffic. Adequate parking has been provided. The application is approved for 1 year. The applicant will submit an application to the commission at the end of the season for review and renewal. Commission finds that this application to be consistent with the plan of conservation development, promoting education and recreation opportunities and preserving natural resources.
I added one word and I wanted your opinion, Alan, just because we have the temporary safety lighting associated with agritourism events. Can I say permanent exterior lighting associated with agritourism uses is prohibited? Just because I don't want
Yes.
to risk discrepancies with saying prohibited one area and.
Yes.
That's
Yep.
That's okay.
I think that makes sense. I think that was the intent. But the other thing I meant to that we didn't add in here is that any permitted lighting shall be fully shielded and downward directed. So that we're not doing decorative lighting, we're doing site illumination.
Modify your motion for
Oh.
this. As read or however you want to say it. Are you okay with just saying that, yes, the changes were good?
Yeah, so I'd like to amend my motion to accept or to approve the draft motion as was corrected, adding in, that they will be closed, by dusk on Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. Also adding in, any and all lighting shall be full cutoff or sky compliant lighting, fully shielded, downward directed, permanent exterior lighting associated with agritourism uses is prohibited. Lighting shall be provided where necessary for normal agricultural operations, required life safety illumination and temporary safety lighting associated with agritourism events.
And 1 hour after dusk.
Oh, right.
And be terminated 1 hour after dusk.
Stan, you okay with that?
Yes, sir.
All right.
Second.
Alan? Yes, no, maybe so.
Are we voting right now, or am I just saying, yes, yes, absolutely.
Daniel?
Yes.
Oh, sorry. Stan?
You did it.
Lisa?
Yes.
All right. That's approved. All right, guys.
I thought you were asking me, I didn't hear about a word.
Okay, on to item A, minor subdivision application 217 Winthrop Road, map 27, lot 5, applicant Richard Cooke. Somebody here? All righty.
If you have some copy.
Yeah, sure. So, maps. Surround.
Oh, well, and I.
So copy. Some stuff.
Oh, that's, okay.
That's Oh, no, we didn't pass. What are you laughing?
If you have two.
I'm excited. Yeah.
Well,
Good one.
So our client is proposing to subdivide.
I can stop you for a second. Did Nancy catch your name?
Oh, my name is Sam Whitus.
Thank you.
Engineer in training, working for Bob Dillon at Dillon Engineering. Okay, so our client is proposing to subdivide this property, which is at 217 Winthrop Road, into 2 parcels of about 3.5 acres each. It's an existing 7.5 acre parcel, so approximately in half. There's a shared common driveway for access to the existing house on the parcel and the neighboring house, which was formed from a free split. There's a pond, wetlands, and a CLMP easement that runs up to connect to this house. We're proposing to add an additional 3-bedroom, single-family home to the rear and provide our frontage on the north and western part of the site. And we plan to extend the driveway to connect to that. So that way we don't have to do any wetland crossings. We already did soil testing and we have a preliminary design. We did a B100A application as well, where we proposed lot 1 that was approved by CRAD. This system will be approved by CRAD through an individual site plan with some modern modifications from this. We need architectural for the house. Yeah. So we will also need a CLMP easement across this property and an access easement or right of way on the existing shared drive to get to that property.
We have some questions for this gentleman?
No, it's not in our subdivision requirements, for a house lot, there is a frontage requirement.
Yep.
But that seems that the frontage. Yeah. curious how the frontage is gonna meet the definition of frontage here, since it's impassable on two of the lots. Are we, and sorry, it's more of a question than a clarification. But, with this subdivision, are we creating non-conforming, lots in regard to the frontage requirement? I know your zoning analysis, you know, you've got your coverage, all of that. Fine. But as standalone built, house lots, do they meet the definition of road frontage?
If you could provide that definition, I'd be more than happy to answer it specifically. Rear lots are allowed, as are flag lots. This lot has wide frontage here.
Yeah.
To a bottleneck. But then the rear part is buildable. You theoretically could be allowed to build a road through here. There is a process to go through to build through and over wetlands, through deep. But we're completely avoiding that because there's a shared access driveway that comes right up next to it. It's already a shared driveway and we're just expanding on it. And this owner is family to this proposed zone.
So it's kind of a gentleman's agreement that they access that lot.
No, there'll be
There is
easements.
an easement in place.
There's an easement for this house over the driveway on this current lot. But when the subdivision is made, this new lot, lot 2, will need an easement over both of these lots for this shared driveway.
So that easement would be a condition, a requirement for the subdivision.
Correct. And a CLNP easement would also be a condition for the subdivision.
Yeah, I saw this, This is on here. Okay.
So one of the questions I had you answered, because you said this, both lots are going to family members?
This existing lot,
Mhm.
I believe is a rental that this client owns.
Yep.
And the new lot, lot 2,
Yep.
will be for his daughter and son-in-law.
So that deals with the open space portion of the subdivision? Because it's going to a family member? My two questions are, I didn't see that you handed in the B100A approval form. Oh, so he's got it. And the second thing is we require a fire tank for the third split on any property. So you need a waiver from the fire department unless you want to put the fire tank
Or a third split.
for the third lot of any property. So the 3 split was 1, you've got 2 now. That makes 3. So
We can go to the fire department.
Yeah. I know you got mine. That's why I'm saying they'll give you a waiver.
Yeah.
But you gotta submit that. Valid point. Yeah, but they have to sign, because we require us to, if they gotta put the neck up, and they're not gonna want that, so
Yeah.
just get them to sign off on that. Another question I was gonna, this, because Alan brought this up, and this isn't really on you, but this is something that the regulations should deal with also, is there are a ton of other properties that have this in town, and we don't allow for private roads. And so you make this gentleman put in a road that we don't want to take care of because it's literally serving 3 lots that could have been a driveway. So I think in our regulations discussion, this should come up. I don't have an issue with this. I know where you're going with this, because once you have a shared driveway with an easement, people just complain at each other, so. Once it's a private road, it's a road that could be turned over to the town if an issue really does arise from it. Anyway, sorry about
No,
that.
it won't be a private road, just a shared driveway.
Yeah. So, but you could, if we had the ability to do that, you could box it out and say it could be a private road. Just if the frontage things becomes an issue.
Just added a note in my handy dandy spreadsheet.
See, that's what I was after.
Nice.
Andy, what is this, Blue's Clues?
Yeah.
Looking for all the things that need to be changed in our regs.
See? Okay, all right, more questions for the applicant?
This is the second split on this lot.
Yeah, which makes it a subdivision. Get you one free split before 19, what are we, 64, 54,
67.
67? I knew that. So anything after that, you can have one free split, and then after that, subdivision.
Mhm.
I don't remember all these dates. You work
I
in
had-
way more towns than I do.
I had to look it up today so I could correct them to do a title search. So
I gotcha.
that's why I knew that, because I think Chester is 64,
Ah, see, I know it, I guess.
which we're also talking in Chester, so
Yep.
everyone's trying to split up their land right now, apparently.
yeah.
So,
Should nobody's trying in there. I know. Anybody else? Do you want to make a motion? Do we want to make you come back with a letter from the fire department, make that a condition?
But we have to have a letter from the fire department.
Or we can make it a
Yeah, make a
condition.
condition. It's looking at this plan, to me, it's a non-issue,
Right.
but it's something we have to have on record. So
So don't make them correct, just make it a condition.
Yeah.
and it was, I think I forgot to print out the email from the inland wetlands agent, but
I
it
saw it.
was reviewed
Yep.
by
Okay.
inland wetlands already.
I don't have anything else.
Anybody else? No, we're still looking for a motion here.
I'll make a motion to approve the subdivision as presented with the condition that they get a sign off from the fire marshal. Or put the tank in and the easements put in place.
I second that motion.
Any more discussion? If not, Alan?
Yes.
Sam?
Yes.
Sarah?
Yes.
All right. Approved. Thank you. All righty, on to reports. CEO. What you got?
My hope is that very soon I will magically have a little bit more free time to dedicate to getting some quicker follow-up with enforcement. So hopefully, once we get somebody hired to help with some of the like administrative stuff in the office, my goal is to, and I do have some things that, right now my biggest challenge is I get a letter out to people, I maybe get some follow-up, and then actually having to like track and keep following up with people ends up and at the bottom of my to-do list when I have obviously new stuff that's coming in all the time during my limited hours. So my goal for this beautiful spring and summer is to get into a better cadence with it. Especially actually, which was brought up with not with lighting and also signage, because there's a few things where I'm driving around town and I'm like, yeah. So, and if you do notice anything, feel free to shoot me an email. I definitely don't have eyes everywhere, so.
I think the fake shop should be our standard.
Yeah, that one is definitely at the top of my list of things to address. And yeah. So, and then it also will help with that as we're talking more about regulation updates. As I'm trying to do enforcement, I'll try to flag anything that seems vague or is not helpful when I'm citing compliance issues, because something that I really don't like to do is send a letter if I don't have a really clear thing in the regulations to point to, which does occur. Where I'm like, this doesn't seem right. Also, it's the way the language is written is not the best. So that's my update there.
On to regulation discussion. You're not getting out of it that easy.
Nope, I'm not done. All of you.
All right, let's have it.
Are you gonna give some presentation?
I have a handy dandy
I
presentation.
like that. I reviewed it early.
And I did actually update it slightly.
What do you share?
Oh, I'm not actually in the meeting right now, so,
What the?
well, I'm in front of you.
All right, well, so I'll buzz through the other stuff while you sign in and all that stuff. So we have attorney, they're just working on the 400 Commercial Drive stuff.
Yep.
So just a little bit of information on the background there. So our attorney has taken over the case from zoning board of appeals, because they did appeal our decision. So that's pretty much where they're at. Chairman, I have nothing for you. Budget, I talked to Tim yesterday, because we were scheduled to be in the budget hearing. And they looked at what we had presented or submitted, and they were fine with everything. So I didn't have to go to a meeting last night, which was fantastic.
Always good.
Right?
Not have to go.
Right? I'm like, oh, I got a night to myself. This is great. So RiverCOG housing. Daniel?
Oh, RiverCOG, there was a snowstorm last month.
Oh, that's right. So you got out of it, huh?
Got out of it.
Talk about, no.
Same
way.
thing.
It's only on Zoom.
Yes.
I was like,
As well as the,
That's
as well
great.
as the regional planning meeting.
yeah.
We didn't have that either.
I like how that works.
So that's my report.
Okay, perfect. Payment of bills, are there any bills? Nope.
I mean, we'll get one from Ken.
Yeah, I know we will. I just,
Well, actually, we did have one from Ken earlier, but I did just sign off on it because
oh boy.
I can bring it to you guys if you want to vote on it, but good luck trying not to pay the attorney.
Right? Especially that is great.
Okay.
All
I
right.
will.
Back to regulations discussion.
Okay, I know that the original plan was to.
There's no music with this,
I honestly, I should have it like a background. music.
right?
No
Oh, this is
amp
cool.
lights
See,
around
icons
the
and
house.
everything.
Acoustic
Mix it up a little bit.
I think
Okay,
Brian Eno would be appropriate. Little ambience.
so. As I think everyone is already aware at this table, to some extent, we had a new housing bill that is now Public Act 25-1. That has a whole host of things, but really the biggest thing that we need to focus on right now is this first piece here, which is the commercial and mixed use zones must allow for rental housing, which is considered 2 to 9 units via summary review. There's also new regulation, new legislation regarding the fact that we cannot set parking minimums for housing developments under 16 units, except within the conservation and traffic mitigation district, which is something that we would have to determine the boundaries of, and it has to be a certain percentage.
So we need to create
The
this.
total land area, blah, blah, blah. That one is not the one I'm focusing on tonight because really the one that has the deadline of July 1st is this first one. So what is a summary review? It's just, we can't do it by special exception. I know everyone here knows that, but we can just still have standards in place, if we so choose, and we can decide if there's, if everything should be a site plan review, or if there's a certain combination of things that would make sense to have it be administrative. So that's something to consider as we talk about what updates need to happen, depending on the zone, depending on the type of development, so have you, but it just means obviously no public hearings. Okay, so commercial mixed use zones. So here's some fun stuff with this. The new legislation does not define commercial or mixed use zones, which means there's a lot of gray here. As a starting point, so here's the really obvious ones, the village and commercial districts. Here's the ones where it starts to get a little bit fuzzy. The preservation recreation zone and the harbor district both allow for residential currently and some form of commercial uses. Then it gets even more complicated when we think about our industrial zones. And it's actually more complicated here than it is in Chester for me to argue against putting it in these zones, because my original thinking was, and here's kind of the both sides of the argument right now, which is happening currently within the Tyche group as well. So one attorney opinion that we got was the statute, because it doesn't define commercial, even though zoning generally treats commercial and industrial as different things, because they don't actually define it, industrial is still technically a commercial use. And if you're treating commercial as an umbrella term, it does encompass industrial. However, most of the time, we all kind of have a generally accepted sense in zoning of what commercial is and what industrial is. Also, the history of zoning stemmed from wanting to separate industrial and residential uses, so this would seem kind of like we might as well just not have zoning. But that's, you know, let's not go there. But what I'm saying is my thinking, and this is something I think for the commission to consider as we're moving forward with this, is I was looking at, so in the statute that was adopted, there is one mention towards the beginning of commercial and industrial. So there's exactly one instance in the 100 pages that differentiates between the two, and then the rest of it just talks about commercial. I think that might be enough to justify any that, except that I think about 830G, and in 830G, essentially the in for multifamily housing when it's affordable housing is if a zone allows for residential uses. All of our industrial zones do technically allow for a residential use in the form of a unit for a groundskeeper or like somebody who is overseeing the property. So something to think about. We'll have enough to think about here first.
Question. So just for my slow mind. So you're saying that commercial in this use of the legislation is not the same nomenclature as commercial in our zoning regs. You're saying it is being interpreted possibly as an umbrella of anything that is commercial.
It is not one or the other because they don't define it. So it depends on who you ask. We had one attorney who said, I could imagine in theory, in court, them arguing that the commercial covers industrial. However, most zoning people would not intuitively put those together because we put the distinction between commercial and industrial for a reason.
This is the same as the 16 and under and 16 and over. I think they could have spent a little more time on this.
So it's kind of it's a big thing. It would be very helpful if it was defined in the legislation, but it is not. Mixed use is also not defined, which means we think about mixed use generally as two uses on the same property or in the same building. But when you're talking about a mixed use zone, does that mean that it's a zone that already allows for mixed uses, or does it mean that it allows for a mix of uses? Like the preservation
Yeah.
recreation zone of the harbor district.
I feel like, so I'm gonna pick on our regulations for a second here, that all those pigeon-toed pieces that we see in our regulations, we're like, well, we'll leave this in so you can have a caretaker, even though there was already a freaking caretaker house on the property, 500 Main Street. We didn't need it in the regulations because it was already there. So I think a lot of those.
Non-conforming.
Right, exactly. Leave it there non-conforming. So I feel like there's fixes. We just have to get there.
Yeah, so, and we do have a lot more, because I'm doing this in Chester too. We have a lot more zones to decide how we want to deal with it. So the good and the bad about this is because of the way, unlike Chester, the way that we have our zoning table set up, it's really easy once we decide on how we want to break it down to put just middle housing development into the zoning table, if that's how we choose to go about it. I would recommend using the language from the statute just to simplify. However, I do think we also could consider there might, for example, especially with the village districts, there might be more specific standards that we want to put in that still then cover middle housing, which is 2 to 9 units, but have some more specific standards that would be applied. So it's something to think about. I'll just finish getting through my little presentation because I think I have 2 more slides and then we can discuss and decide on how we want to proceed. So can we still incorporate standards into summary review? Yes. It just needs to be specific. It needs to be treated like a site plan review where we want to be able to and say like, here's the standards that we are holding for this type of development. If you meet those, then it's granted. The end. Timeline. So it is a tight timeline. And it is a little bit tighter because the last 2 months, a lot of planners and lawyers and everyone in the background has been working on trying to figure out how to interpret all of this. And clearly some of that is still in the gray. But I think if we at least tackle the village districts and the general and neighborhood commercial zones, I think that's a really reasonable and start and hits the majority of what I think the intent of the legislation was. And it still gives us, you know, all of next month's meeting to talk in more detail about it before needing to do anything, so we can receive it in May and then have a public hearing and vote in June. So we still do have a little bit of time to think and talk and draft.
That was weird. It said I was signed out even though we're recording and going.
Oh, that is weird.
Yeah.
And now that's the end of my presentation. So I would love to hear kind of what people's thoughts are on the best way to tackle it. And really, I think what it comes down to is the easy parts of the adoption are going to be like a basic adoption of middle housing development. And I also would recommend adopting a definition for cottage cluster developments, because cottage clusters are included in the definition for middle housing.
Yep.
So those are like the two big things in terms of definitions to include. And then the question is how we want to go about amending the zoning tables, you know, everything, you know, will everything be site plan review? And then are there any types of developments that would require kind of more standards and what those standards would be? For example, it's very possible that for a 2-unit built development, we don't feel the need to impose like a bunch of extra standards, whereas a 9-unit development, there's probably going to be extra standards that we want to have in place. So, and all of that is stuff that we can still do. It just has to be subject to site plan review. And maybe we do want to just treat all of it the same, with the exception of we should also adopt stuff that covers cottage clusters
Right.
separately, because it's a fundamentally different kind of setup than like so, which I do have some examples of that I can share with the group. But I also think this, especially this group in particular, I know a lot of you have a lot of background knowledge and experience with various parts of this already. So I also want your input on what you think the language and standards should be.
So we have to come up with a definition for cottage cluster housing, a definition.
So I have an
Or
example of a
regulations.
definition, but I'm talking about for the standards themselves. Actually, I can share an example.
You know who Ross Chapin is, don't you? Ross Chapin is out in is it Portland or Seattle. He does cluster, he does cottage housing developments. Tiny, and the houses are small and they're built around a central gathering place.
Well,
Is that what this is?
I was gonna say, well, there's also the ones in Madison that just got built, which were the general's residence. Those are considered a cottage cluster development.
They don't even have like they're just small cottages all in this.
No, these are regular sized houses, just in a.
That's not a
community.
Are you
cottage
talking
cluster.
about ones off Silver
It's an
Spring?
existing, no,
Defined by square.
Oh,
right, so yeah. So they had their bigger houses. I mean, if you drive into Madison now, and it's the first thing you see after you pass Liberty Street. It's there on the left-hand side. There's like 6 houses.
oh, yeah, I know, that. Right.
So that's a cottage cluster development, and that was written with the regulation that was coming forward.
Yeah, so especially with the cottage clusters, I think, some of that is what we can incorporate into the standards. And I'm gonna just pull up.
Can I ask a general question? One is the fundamental intent. What are we trying to regulate by treating the different types of units differently?
So I think the question for this group is, are there any housing types that you want to just make as of right and therefore easier to move along or not? And if not, then everything would be site plan if it's 2 units or 9 units. So I think that is kind of that piece of it, because that part one is summary review, which means it can be administrative or it can be site plan. It just can't be special exception.
But a 2-unit is a duplex, isn't it?
Right, I was
A
just gonna say that.
2-family.
Yeah.
A 2-unit is a 2-family
Mm.
or a duplex.
Right.
We already have
Mhm.
regulations.
Yeah, but why, I'm trying to get to the fundamental, kind of the whereas. Why do we want to treat them differently in terms of their requirements? Right?
You mean as opposed to what they are right now? Like why
Yes.
change the regulation?
To make it easier for someone to come in.
Well, we have to look at it.
Well, we have to, but we're required to update the regulations overall.
Well,
So we all do that.
Right, so if we have special exceptions in place right now, those have to change. So
Right,
we do have to look at that.
that's the answer.
Yeah.
But as far as like council definition, that would just be adding a definition
Right.
just for
Yeah.
clarity. It
Well, and
wouldn't
also,
actually affect the reg, if that's what you're asking. Alan.
for example, like the middle housing definition should cover 2 to 9 units. However, if we have a zoning table where a duplex is already allowed via site plan, then I would recommend saying like middle housing developments, 3 to 9 units, where it's like this, because it's already in there.
But it's gonna
Leave it that-
expand when duplexes are allowed.
So.
Right.
It's probably gonna depend on some of those specifics. And same with like mixed use buildings are already covered. So so that would still just be treated as such. So it's really only for the things that are missing in the regulations that we should focus on. But it does also open up the discussion if people want to talk about it, that if we're adopting certain standards, should those be applied to some of the other existing things or not? There's not really a lot in there right now. I mean, there's a couple of things, but not really in terms of like what is middle housing that is permitted. Because most of the places in the regs, it's not allowed, so.
Well, I have one question about this. In a village district, you send things to the design advisory board. And those are not things that are in your regulations or the recommendation of the design advisory. Can you still put those in place on a site plan versus special exception?
So I think because I send stuff that's administrative to the DAB.
Okay,
So
I just didn't want to be
think-
undercut there.
Yes,
Another question to
but I
that.
think it's because it's advisory. Like, it's not binding.
It's enforceable by planning and zoning. It's advisory by DAB, and if they make a recommendation, we can make it a requirement.
Yeah, my question to that though, in the initial draft of that legislation, they said that you can't do that specifically because.
That's what I'm getting at.
So my question is, did that make it into the final legislation?
Right.
Because I know some stuff was tossed out, like the regional housing authority thing. There's a few other things that were tossed out. Because if it made it in,
Right, that's what I'm worried about. They just took that out of the play
Well-
completely, which is
yeah, that's what I'm saying.
And they're also
not gonna use the
making,
words, but
some adjustments right now. So I'm looking at a raised bill that just came up that is talking about the setbacks for like the single family home with an ADU, because they like didn't put restrictions on that.
Mm,
You could have no setback. So now they fixed that, thank God. And also I'm trying to like figure out what they mean by this, but there is there is something about like historic places and For conservation, and preservation restriction.
That's what I was getting on. I'm like, oh, I hope they didn't undercut all that stuff, but it sounds, okay.
I don't think so.
The initial drafted design review board language was
Yep.
targeted at some particular bad actors
Mhm.
that were using to say, well, any multifamily homes it doesn't meet the design review.
Yeah.
So do
So it was blanketed in.
we want to do this at a regular meeting? Do we want to have a special,
I thought we
Really?
discussed already to have a special reg meeting. We just hadn't set up time.
did we?
Yeah, industrial.
Well,
I thought we were talking about putting it where the P O C D meeting was.
And then-
Or maybe that was just discussion.
I think it was just discussion, but should we do that for this?
I think you're gonna need to.
So we're gonna,
This is complicated.
right, so we're gonna need another meeting for, when is everybody available? Wednesdays at 6 seem to work since Zoe's in town.
Yes, that would be nice. That
I-
would work for me anyway.
Can we do the first?
By that meeting, I'll
April
have an answer
1st.
for you on the
Yeah.
DB stuff,
That's exactly why.
What stuff?
on the design advisory stuff. So
Everything.
Yeah, it might not have survived.
I don't.
Some
think
stuff
it
didn't
did.
survive.
I think, but I do want to double check.
Because every other weekend.
See, I've been like trying to make sure I pick up all the pieces and I still am missing stuff, so.
This
April 1st is a good day to tackle regulations.
That's what I thought. If that works for everybody, same bad time, same bad channel.
Yeah.
But see, when no one's happy, you know, that's the right thing. Fine.
So it's good for that day. Everyone's available.
I guess so.
How much you can answer? Actually,
Somebody was growling.
there you go.
Oh.
I'm gonna check on my phone because my computer's
All
not.
right, so April 1st, 6 o'clock,
P and Z regs.
we're having this where?
P&Z
Here?
regs.
I mean, well, do we actually have to have it here? Because it's only a reg meeting. Can we do that somewhere else?
Can it be a workshop and not a meeting?
Yeah.
A working meeting?
Yeah, can we do?
I don't know, those brewery meetings are kind
Can
of
we
rough.
call it a workshop, not be a meeting?
you have a
I mean,
meeting
it's
there?
still a meeting, but
It was.
we're not making decisions,
Elena.
No, we're not making any
Ah.
decisions.
They're one guy.
so it could be a workshop.
Oh, so we can have it there. Perfect. That's what's happening.
Yay!
So,
Yeah, well, I'll see
High
you-
nine?
Yeah,
the first,
the first.
There will be no
Okay.
virtual component. Everybody show up.
I like that.
Yeah.
and Wednesday, is Wednesday spin night or is that Tuesday?
Yes, bring
Wednesday's.
your album,
Ooh.
right? Isn't it bring
It
your
is.
album?
I'm
I
not
love
disagreeing with you.
That's-
It always puts a smile on my
I
face.
know, I forgot to bring my
That's
Wednesday night sale.
Yeah, it was on the bicycle.
They were playing album, because you could hear the needle going across the album.
Yeah, because there was like
Yeah.
a stop in the music.
Okay, so we're good with that. We can get our minds wrapped around this stuff come 2 weeks from now.
Oh, I'm not sure.
That's only
I can.
2 weeks from now.
No, yeah, good luck. If
Wait,
we
you
have
can't
a-
make it or you can't wrap your mind around it? All right.
Well, everyone start thinking.
Well,
Yeah,
they're gonna be discussing this again at the housing meeting.
Yep.
They're supposed to discuss it last month, and ideally, they're gonna come back with some of the, I mean, Zoe's
Is that full
got the low
regulation
hanging
up
fruit.
on our
There's gonna be
site?
more of that, so.
The full
Yeah.
statute. Let me,
Keep it posted.
yeah, I can save it.
Same thing.
I've been saving it to a bunch of different places, so now I can't keep track of who I've shared it with and who I haven't.
no, there's a lot to it.
There is.
Because I'm also doing the housing study for Chester, and so I've talked to that committee, and then I just talked to the Chester planning zoning, and now you guys are my third stop. And I still, every time I do it,
third.
Yeah.
you're not
See?
special anymore.
Let's make note of that.
Yeah, I did.
If you ain't first, you're last.
Yeah, I noticed. Man, thanks a lot.
I need to eat.
Hey, all right.
Dandy.
Jesus.
Soccer thing.
Yes.
All right, so if we're good with that, if we get a motion to adjourn,
Oh, motion to adjourn.
I just put public acts, it's exporting because it's 100 something.
Yeah.
I just put public acts 25-1 onto the OneDrive, just in the general. So it's not in this meeting specific, it's just gonna be on the general like thing so that it's always there. Or actually, I think I made a discussions, regulations discussions folder. I'll
You
put it there.
Ooh,
Oh, yeah.
I did do that. I'm gonna actually transfer that.
I still make a motion to adjourn.
Okay, any, still need a second.
Second.
All in favor?
I,
Bye.
1905.
Thank you, guys.
Okay.
It is now in our regulations discussion.
Can you also put